Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week we are going to hopefully finish off those brake and fuel lines. Oh, all right, it is a very brisk home built here this week. It's currently about 0 degrees. It was -3 this morning. It's pretty cold, definitely winter. Those of you who are watching last week will have seen that I did a bunch of work on fitting brake lines and stuff like that, and there were a bunch of questions, things like that. I'll put a link up above so you can catch up. Basically, I put in the new brake lines, and there was lots of questions about where I put my brake pressure switch. Yes, I probably could have put it on the rear circuit, which is a possibility that would have actually probably worked and saved me a little bit of a headache, but not a lot. It's still pretty much where I want to put it. I can't put it in the engine bay for a couple of reasons. A, I don't want to be able to see it, and B, I don't want lines in the engine bay because the engine's so tight, putting it in and out. If I have any lines on the firewall, just putting the engine in and out is going to knock those lines out. You just can't put them on the behind the engine on the firewall, so they can't go there. So I just am very limited with the amount of places I can put it. There were lots of comments about putting a switch on the pedal like a lot of modern cars have, and I will show you why that really can't really work. Okay, so the way that most modern car brake pedal switches work, they work on hanging pedals, and they have the switch mounted in front of the pedal up the top. It mounts it in front of the pedal because basically the switch is pressed in when your foot is off the pedal. As soon as you push your foot on the pedal, it releases the switch, and that turns the brake lights on because it's a normally open switch. So it's not going to work in this case because you'd have to stick it in front of the pedal somewhere, and there is nowhere in front of the pedal to stick the switch. And underneath the car, there is even less room, so it's not an easy system. I mean, I probably could have welded a tab onto the side and done it's just easier doing it with a pressure switch, and there is enough room under there to do it. It's going to be all heat insulated and the exhaust wrapped, so I'm not worried about the brake lines heating up too much and brake fluid overheating or whatever. It's really not going to be that bad. It's not a turbo exhaust, so I think it should be fine. All right, so I managed to make this contraption out of all of those bits and pieces, and essentially what is going to happen is this is going to go up here, something like this. And basically what we've got here is the fuel's going to come out of the tank through the 75 micron filter. Just use this fitting at the end because we needed to space these out. Fuel pump, through the regulator. The return is going to go back into the tank, and then from the regulator through the 10 micron filter, through the fuel line, through to the engine. So that is my basic fuel system, and now it's a matter of trying to work out how to fit this up and mount it up to the car. Now, when I built this boot floor, I didn't actually add there's a brace I want to put across through the middle here to reinforce the floor because the floor is not strong enough as it is. I deliberately left that out because I knew that I had to mount this. So what I want to do is incorporate that brace into holding this unit so that it's all nice and solid and firmly mounted in the car. I just ran this through the guillotine, and I had trouble cutting it. It folded it in the middle and didn't cut it properly, and I was wondering what the issue with my guillotine was, and then I looked a little bit closer. The whole thing has cracked through the middle. That's far from ideal. That's going to be something I'm going to have to try and repair. I don't know if I ever can repair it. It may be complete toast, but I really want to get this thing going again. I really like this old thing. That's annoying. All right, so I've got my brace. Now, it took a little bit. I had to do some sort of dented notches along here so that it can go over these bead rolls that I put in the floor. And this now fits quite nicely up against here. I ran along with my punch and put some holes in it so that I can plug weld it on. So I'm going to get this loosely into place now, and we'll start making it all work. Weld this in. Okay, so I now have most of this mounted up. So I've got my center brace in and all welded into place. I have my fuel pressure regulator mounted. I have the fuel pump solidly mounted through the center brace. Fuel pressure regulator with some captive nuts bolted on the top here. Some more captive nuts up the top that are bolted on to hold this fuel pump in. I'm going to just drill a hole and put a P-clip for this one, just because I have another one of these Raceworks solid sort of really trendy nice braces, but it's not really going to work in this 90-degree little corner here. So P-clip will do the job for that. Just hold it nice and solid. I need to now trim my hard line to mount onto the end of my 10 micron fuel pump. And I'm going to have to change and get a couple more fittings. These fittings that I ordered, I was picturing I'd have some more space and be able to mount this sort of closer over here. But the reason I had to mount this center brace over so far is because of the hole for the reverse light. I couldn't sort of put the brace in the middle there, so I had to move it over. So that's easy. That's just a couple of different fittings, and then there's going to be a length of hose in between. That's easy. And then all we've got is I need to still do the return, which comes out the base of the regulator. I'm going to run it over this side, out and up into the car, so that we have the excess fuel that goes back into the fuel tank. All right, so back to the brake lines, and I've had a bit more of a think about how I'm going to be running the brake lines from the pickup point of the flex line is over here. Actually, there was also a lot of people asking about these flex lines, why I didn't use braided stainless ones. These are actually stainless braided. They've just got a plastic coating over them, so they're solid, nice, strong, reinforced braided lines. But from the top of that there, normally it goes through into the engine bay from this hole here. But I'm actually looking that instead of having stuff running in through the engine bay, I want to keep the engine bay as clean as possible. I'm going to run them up here, tuck it into this little lip here, behind the back of the shock, which will be reinforced later, but I'll leave enough room to get the brake line through. And then down, and instead of being in where this divot here, I'm going to use this divot here. So it divots on both sides, so the rail is wide, but it divots in the middle, and those bits come together. So I'm going to drill a hole here on either side, punch it through, and then I can run it down the inside of this leg and back into joining up with the brake pressure switch I put in earlier. So let's start drilling and see how we go. Okay, so I've just been making up my new brake line, and I've sort of been putting off how far I can get with it, but it's that time again. It's time to take the engine out again. All right, so I have my line now coming through from the body up here. I just need to tuck it all in and attach it up to my T-piece here. All right, and here I have another line. This is for the passenger side, so it goes loops up under the tunnel, tucking over the top of the gearbox, coming along around up, and should be good. So we are basically, once I fitted this, we have the front brake lines fitted. Then I just need to put some mounts to hold them in place. All right, so we can see I've got all my brake lines all in. They go nicely over the top of the tunnel. Everything is sort of tucked around nicely. You've got the fuel line going up. I still haven't got the top of that cut off to the right length yet, because I need to now try and get that to line up with the fuel rails. All right, so I've got my fuel fitting in now, ready to make up some AN lines, but to make up the AN lines, I have to put the engine back in the car. Now we have the nice neat fuel lines. They're just hidden in behind the engine, so that's all you're going to see. It's just a nice little braided line either side, just disappearing into the back to the firewall. I'm a fan of that. I think that's going to do the job nicely. All right, so we have all of our fuel system in and all of the brake line plumbing in and secured. I'm happy. Finally have that stuff all sorted. It's a lot of tedious work, and I know it's not that interesting to do these things, but these are the bits that actually need to be done before the car can go. The little bits that it's not always the glamorous stuff like putting the engine in for the first time, but that's just what needs to be done. And I'm quite happy that we're getting closer to the day when this thing will actually run in this car, and hopefully it's not a million years away. I think it's getting closer. So anyway, that's all the time I have this week. So I think that means it's time for fun facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, the 1951 Ferrari 212 Export was the race model of the 212 Inter road car that we talked about last week. Of the 27 212 Exports built, most are bodied by Touring, who built 8 as barquettas and 4 in the closed-in Berlinetta style. One of these touring barquettas was rebodied by Carrozzeria Autodroma in 1953, when it was also acquired by Fox Studios in Hollywood and used in the 1955 movie The Racers, starring Kirk Douglas. Footage of the same car was also taken from the 1954 Mille Miglia and used in the 1961 movie The Green Helmet. Vignali also bodied 10 exports, 7 as Berlinettas and 3 as Spiders. 212 exports are used extensively in racing, with the most notable being a 1-2-3 finish in the Tour de France Automobile race. Interestingly, with 3 different body styles. First was a touring Barchetta, second was a Vignali Berlinetta, and third was a one-off Berlinetta by Moto.
All right, well, it's another one marked off the books. I am quite happy with the progress and just getting, this one was sort of getting one of those sort of fiddly things out of the way and getting a lot of those little bits and pieces tidied up. But it's it's definitely coming together, and I've got a few more interesting things on the books for this in the next couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. I still have to work out exactly what I'm doing next, but that's always the fun bit.
Yes, that's right. It's lots and lots of fun. So if you want to join Jeff on his glamorous garage lifestyle a day earlier without ads, because let's face it, this is very glamorous.
Very glamorous.
Follow him on Patreon and like and subscribe, and I believe that's everything.
Yeah.
No?
We'll see you
And
next
let
week.
him know what you think of everything, because he likes to read your comments.
Yeah, I'll read them all. All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
See you next time.
Hey guys, the Ferrari into 212 export Ferrari. No. Hey guys, the Ferrari about last week was no, I did not. The 1951 Ferrari, just finding this really hard. Interestingly, with 3 different bodies. Shall I do it again? That sounded a bit weird.